One thing I would do is I would become a really good listener and I would talk less, because you tend to get yourself in trouble when you open up your mouth in environments like that. Because what happens is you're just very loosely talking and then people share what you said and it's never what you said and it's never how you said it. And conflict will happen most times. Usually it's a conversation to be had, but it's because someone found out or heard about something that you either did or said and it's just not true, or it's not the way it was taken out of context. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I had conflict in my office. I mean, daily. And when we would kind of get to the bottom of it, it was always a misunderstanding.
I've experienced a lot of conflict at work with different coworkers. It feels like everyone is out for themselves and will either stomp on you or backstab you to get ahead. What are some effective strategies for managing and resolving workplace conflict?
So if I was coaching that client, I'd start right at the top and I'd go right to whoever's the executive of that culture, because it all starts at the top, hands down. The biggest problem in every system is
Wait, what do you mean by that? You go to the
biggest problem in every system is the person running the system.
But this person seems, so this is, sorry, maybe I misread the question. This is someone.
No, I didn't answer yet, but that's where I would start.
Okay.
If I was like inspecting a company and I heard that I would heard there's just infighting and conflict and everyone's stabbing each other in the back, I would look to the top of that pyramid of who's running that company, because I squashed that stuff in my company and I was adamant about building a really great culture. And I think the most important thing is your company goes wherever the leader goes. So your leaders, they set the tone. Now, in a big company versus a small company, it's going to be very different. In a big company, you may never see the leader. You may never see the CEO. So it's going to be the guy or a girl who's running your department. But in a smaller company, under a couple hundred people, usually you're going to see or know of the leader of the organization or the leadership team. And where they go, the company goes, hands down. So they either put up with it, or they play the game, or they stir the pot, or they put up with none of it. And that has everything to do with their culture. And it usually is led by the leader. So if I was in a culture where that comment, that was me, I'd first look to see if that's coming from the top, if that game gets played, and that means I might not be in the right company, just may not be. If I'm with a good company with good leaders and I'm caught in that kind of a situation, one thing I would do is I would become a really good listener and I would talk less, because you tend to get yourself in trouble when you open up your mouth in environments like that. Because what happens is you're just very loosely talking and then people share what you said and it's never what you said and it's never how you said it. And conflict will happen most times. Usually it's a conversation to be had, but it's because someone found out or heard about something that you either did or said and it's just not true, or it's not the way it was taken out of context. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I had conflict in my office. I mean, daily. And when we would kind of get to the bottom of it, it was always a misunderstanding, always. And when someone was too scared to go and address the conflict with the person, because everyone is so scared of conflict, I had to try to build a culture of it's not conflict, it's a conversation. You just go have a conversation, but people are scared. They're really scared. And sometimes you have a reason to be, if someone can kind of sabotage you. But I'd say become a really good listener, talk less, ask curious questions, and stay away from the garbage talk that has nothing to do with it's going to help you. The one thing I will tell you about any kind of work environment, the high performers are very busy. They don't have time to waste. They're working. If you're not working and you're at your job, then I say this, I say it with the greatest, then you're stealing time. You're not working. Of course, you're going to take breaks and you're going to be on lunch. But I have to tell you, that's your choice. Your choice if you're going to be real social and open up your personal life. And as soon as you do that, you are extending trust to people. And typically when you have trust extended, someone could just stomp on it. And so as much as you want to build trust and you want to be friendly with everybody at work, you have to realize they're not your best friends. I used to have people in my company, they'd say things like, we're family. And I'd correct them. I was like, no, we're not. And we had a really, really good culture. I mean, best place to work, ranked number one. I mean, we built a culture people were running walls through. But I reminded them, this is not family. I go home to my family at the end of the day. You go home to yours. We go home to two different worlds. We come here. We have a shared common purpose, and we're close, and we built crazy amounts of trust. But at the end of the day, people quit on me like out of the clear blue. I had people do things to me as an employer that would make your head spin. They were not family. So I make it really clear. I look at it more like a sports team. I was an athlete in high school and college, and I think of it more like that, like more of a coach, kind of a teammate kind of a thing. And I think that's a healthier outlook. You know, when people used to put up all their family pictures in my office, it's a weird thing. And it's hard to even say it like publicly like this, but I'll just be honest and transparent with you. I'd always question that. I'm like, wow, you're getting really comfortable that you're putting your family up, like as if you're going to, I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring, let alone, you know, you get so cozy and don't get me wrong. I want to make people to make it feel like home. I really did. But things change quick in companies. They really do. And whether it's from the employer or from the employee. And so you have to draw the line. And I was very close with all my employees, but I drew the line. And there were a lot of things they did not know about me. My leadership coach used to say to me, keep the right secrets. Keep the right secret. I'm a very transparent person, but there's certain things I didn't talk about that people did not know about me. And I think there's a healthy boundary, and you have to know what that is for you. Every person is different, but if you're in an environment like what that person's question is, that you're in a toxic environment where they're bad rapping and there's politics and there's, you know, all this stuff going on all the time, say less. You know, my best friend used to say to me, loose lips sinks ships. And it's true. It's true. So, you know, people get so upset when something happens at their job. They get called into the employer's office and, you know, did you say this? And they get so mad. I can't believe Jacob would, you know, you opened up your mouth. You have to own your stuff. Take responsibility. You said that. So yeah, it got back to someone a different way. Well, then you shouldn't have said it now. You shouldn't have said it. So you have to be really careful. And I would say, you know, how you have a worldview around trust. I trust people before they earn it. I've had people say that I won't trust you until you earn it. Everyone has their own opinion of that, but I think, you know, it's a fragile thing. So learn the lessons, you know, sometimes hopefully not the hard way, but know where you stand with people. And I would say be careful, tread waters. And if you're in an environment like that, caution even more. Let other people do the talking, and you just stick to your guns, do what you need to do, what you're paid to do, and focus on your performance. And if it's such a toxic environment that you can't work there, I'd say start looking for another job. You know, there's no point in going to a job that you can't stand because you can't stand the people that work there. It's a hard thing. It's a tough.
Good advice, though. Good advice. I think most people would naturally be, well, I guess it depends on the kind of person you are, but I think most people would feel that they have to solve the conflict right away. But it seems like you're saying, you know, back off a little bit, hold your cards a little bit tighter, maybe.
So here's what I'd say, and I'll see if that changes what you just said. I mined for it. I bubbled up conflict. I wanted to address it right away because I want to nip it in the bud. Now, the problem is most people don't want to do that because they're scared to address conflict. It's too uncomfortable. It's much easier if I'm upset with you to just let it go under the rug. But here's what happens. You let it go under the rug, and 3 months later, you say something or do something and we're in a meeting. And because I never addressed it, I still got it in for you. And I almost unconsciously don't. And this is like sabotage 101 that happens in companies every single day. We used to start off our meetings and I had a discipline. We would go around the room in our leadership meeting and we would look each other in the eyes and say that we're clear. We're clear, meaning I don't have a problem right now. Because the worst thing you can do is be upset with someone on your team or someone you work with. Try to go into working on a project and have that go well. Like, I've got a problem with you. You rub me the wrong way. What you said hurt my feelings, whatever it is. Like, people are so scared to address that. And they think, I just won't address it. It's not a big deal. But the problem is, it is a big deal. And if it's bothering you and you just stick it down and you suppress it, which is what almost everybody does because they're scared, you don't realize that many times you go have that conversation and it always is never as bad as you think it is. I mean, not always, but most of the time it is a conversation. And I can't tell you how many times, we joked in our last interview and I said, don't come to me with your problems, go to the person. And when I would challenge some of my teammates to do that, it was never as bad as they thought. Sometimes relationships would be rekindled and, it's amazing what can come from when you just go and you just have a heart to heart with someone, but you have to know who you're doing that with. And if you can't do it, you can't do it. But I think a lot of times it's you deciding you can't because you're scared. And I think you have to You have to overcome that. I'm going to share one other thing with you I think is really powerful. So I taught someone this earlier today. I was on the phone with them and I was coaching them about building confidence. And it's really at the root of fear. Fear is what holds us back at work. It's what holds us back. It's what causes conflict. It's what suppresses all of me sharing how I really feel because I'm scared. And if you want to build confidence in anything, whether it is a skill, whether it's your business, whether it's your job, or having confidence to go address conflict, you could apply this recipe to anything. And anyone who's listening to this, you can apply it with your kids and it's life-changing. And again, this came from Dan Sullivan at Strategic Coach. It's an amazing tool. He calls it the 4 C's. And what it is, if you just remember the 4 C's, you can apply it to anything you want to get better and build confidence. The first one is you make a commitment. So I'm going to make a commitment that I want to overcome being scared of dealing with conflict. That's my commitment. The second C is the courage. And this is where everybody quits because it's too hard. I don't want to do it. It's not worth it. It's not a big deal. It doesn't matter what it is. Again, I did this with my kid. He was scared to go down a water slide. He made a commitment to go do the water slide as a little kid. And then it was the courage part. He looked up, he said, no way. And then finally I got him to have courage to go. And what happens is the third C is you build a capability. And once you build that capability, once he goes down the slide one time, once you go address the conflict and realize it's not as bad as I thought it would be, you build the 4th C, which is going to be that confidence. And it applies to anything you do. If you start a new job and you want to be confident with learning a new computer system, you have to have the courage to jump in. Just jump in and start learning it. Ask the questions and say, Jacob, can I spend a couple extra minutes after work with you and just pick your brain? And once you do that, you start to build that 3rd C, that capability. So once you build a commitment, once you have the courage is where everyone quits, to just go, just step over that fear, you'll build a capability and it results in confidence. And I have to tell you, I've applied this to my life in so many areas where I've kind of realized I'm scared to kind of take on something. And when you break it down like that and you realize you can see yourself stopping at that 2nd C, because I'm just scared to do it, fear just paralyzes people. It literally paralyzes people and it just makes them go different paths. And you have to have some self-awareness that that's what's stopping you from moving forward. And if you can do that, boy, you can break through ceilings in an amazing way. So that's a challenge to everybody who's who's scared to go address conflict with people at work. Go have a conversation and just be curious and be a good listener and talk. And you don't know what you might find out to maybe overcome that conflict that you've had with someone for years.